Center for Teaching and Learning and Academic Technology sponsors what are called teaching scholar groups.
It usually is comprised of about 8 to 12 faculty members.
So there are 11 M-Learning scholars that were chosen, and this group is focused on using mobile devices in the teaching and learning process.
But really, they're in charge. They're the ones who are leading the group.
So my name is Michal Temkin-Martinez, and I am a linguistics professor in the English department. We're working on documenting one of the refugee languages spoken by one of the 2 Somali Bantu communities here. We're going to be learning about their culture and about their oral history. The language is called Kizigua, and we're documenting it. It's never been documented before, and there's very little literature about it in the linguistics research literature, so it's very exciting. And so we thought it would be really great to use the iPod Touches so that when the student first meets with the elder, they don't have a huge camcorder in front of the elder. The idea is to, lower the intimidation and to encourage more, a more personal touch to their work with the elder. One of the greatest benefits for me as an instructor being in this mobile learning program is the colleagues.
Primarily we're using the technology for clinical, which is called Respiratory Care 228. In the class they're actually in different hospitals throughout the valley, and they use the technology really as a reference. So when they read through maybe the patient's history, they'll come across disease states. If it's a disease state maybe we haven't covered in class yet, they can check into that. Or even if it's something covered in class and they just can't remember the details of it, it gives them an opportunity to look up that. So having the device, again, they can access things like Hippocrates and look up those medications. Many physicians are carrying around handheld devices to access information. Most of the hospitals have a Wi-Fi access that the students are able to use to access the information that is only found on the internet. The students have been able to download some PDFs, so they always have some information that the device can be used for.
I'm using it in a graduate seminar course that's cross-listed between the geosciences and the biology department, which is a GK-12 informal science education seminar. They're using the iPod Touches to record their teaching interactions, and the graduate students develop and deliver educational activities at those centers that relate to their field of expertise. So they're kind of scientists in residence at these local learning centers. So this is a program that was designed to help improve scientists' communication skills. The iPod Touches provide a kind of fast, easy way for everyone in the group to have a better picture of what's going on. It's allowed me to see more of what's going on at the different centers, and I think has allowed the fellows to do that as well and to get ideas from each other.
It's an introductory class for music education majors at about the sophomore level, where they've completed a lot of the basic competencies in our music core curriculum, and they're transitioning to start taking courses in teacher training where they're learning to apply those skills to actual teaching careers. So what we're doing with the devices is enriching that field report, where now they can use the media capabilities of the device to capture audio, capture video, basically use the device to create a much more rich field report that they turn into me. So when I assess what they're learning in the field, I can get a lot more direct information about what it is that they're seeing and how they're reflecting on that information. The guidelines are the same as the traditional written report. I'm asking them to see and tell me about what did they see that the teacher's objective was.
It's a struggle. So I heard another teacher said that they wanted their room to be the funnest room that a kid enters that day.
Basically, it's designed around capturing the content in the field and then manipulating it once they get back to a Wi-Fi connection where they can do something with that content.
I have a class of Masters of Social Work students that are in what we call field practicum, and the students are out in the community working in different agencies, finishing up their practicum kind of clinical hours, working with people. They're getting to use it any way they want, see what different ways they could use it, what things would be helpful. We did an app for medical terminology, and then looking at different depression scales, different testing things that are, some of the students out in one clinic are looking at that. I've got another student looking at resources for how to, apps for children. She's working with some pediatric children, different things. Each student's going to do an interview in their agency so that students in the future can look at that agency, see what types of social work goes on, so that not every student in the future has to go out and meet people or go and see the agency.
I'm Sam Matson. I'm an instructor in the Department of Geosciences. We're using the iPods in Geos 102, which is a historical geology class. It's an intro level class designed for non-majors. We're using the iPod Touches. We're using them in place of clickers or audience response technology. One of the ideas we're testing is that maybe we could use something like an iPod or an iPad as a replacement for a computer lab. The students are going to be using the technology anyway, but if you can steer that toward class purposes, it benefits the lecture. So if there's a question that I can't answer, the students are looking it up and we can answer that question right away. So the software application where we can use it in place of clickers, that is available for some of the other devices like a BlackBerry or Android. I think now is coming out with the apps. But there's other things that are pretty specific to the iPod. If there's a paid app that we're definitely going to be using in class, we can provide that for the students. We can do a lot of quantitative things in the labs that we couldn't do before. In terms of making a graph, we would have to just draw the graph on paper, sort of old school. And now if we have these spreadsheet apps and statistical apps, we can make a real graph. So as the weather's getting warmer and we can get the students out to the real geology lab, outside, out in the foothills, other places around Boise, I think we're going to be able to use the iPods as other types of tools as well. There's a lot of students who like to bike to campus and they like that portability, and with an iPod you can throw it in your pocket and hop on your bike and you're good to go.
So the course is History 502, which is a graduate course called Seminar in Applied History. My students are going to create public history projects that are about Idaho or Boise. And they might do, for example, walking tours. They might take advantage of the GPS. For the most part, they're using them outside of class to construct their own digital history projects that are optimized for mobile devices. I'm asking them to use existing apps or develop web pages that are optimized for small screens.
The class that I'm using for the Mobile Learning Scholars research this semester is ITM 310, which is business intelligence. So I have users with the iPods, of course, I have Android users, I have Windows Phone users, I have a couple BlackBerry people, and then a few people that just are using laptops as part of their technology for the course. I can't just choose a single app, and I have to deal with the challenges of Apple not supporting flash technology and other devices maybe not supporting some of the things that we can do on Apple. I do have everybody sign up for a Twitter account. I've been able to ask them some interesting questions that I think is going to be very valuable to carry over into research on the whole mobile area. It is a bit tedious to prepare the content for mobile devices, and that's one of the challenges I think both academia and business is finding in using mobile tools.
In my course, they will use it to take photos of good design examples. For this component, I promote situated learning, so they learn in context. That's very important. The mobile device itself provides a very good venue for them to just take immediate photos and then reflect and post it.
We have two components in the class that I was hoping we use this mobile device. The first component is we use Twitter to try to build a classroom community, and I hope students use mobile device to tweet. Here is our class wiki. I put a Twitter feed on this wiki so students can look at this feed, and then whenever they log on to our class wiki. One student who is a science teacher, she used free apps from Houston Zoo. She designed a lesson plan and used the zoo apps to guide their one-day trip in the zoo. They shoot photos using their iPod Touch. They also create some maps on Google Maps using their iPod Touch. So at the end of the day, after they go back to school, they can examine these artifacts, the photos, the notes, the maps they created, and then they have a discussion about what they learned.
I'm Nicole Nalumbi and I'm in the music department. They're using the iPad to listen to recorded homework, specific apps. I did research on certain apps that I wanted them to have. Ear Trainer, which is great. It has a keyboard, it has a staff, and it's interactive, and they can listen to any type of exercise that we actually are already doing in class. I often have them put in earbuds, and they share earbuds as a pair, and they can work on the exercises together. With Fourscore, you can go to specific sites and upload exact music. And one of our students forgot his music for orchestra. So he went to this public domain website, found his part in the nick of time before orchestra, slapped it on his iPad and put the iPad on the stand and sailed through orchestra rehearsal that day. Now what I'm finding is those lowest students who either usually kept it from a 71% to a 72%, actually bumped up a whole letter grade finally. Because now they have the actual tool to go home and work. And so we're recording, and I say we're going to do a harmonic dictation, 4 beats in the key of D major. That's the key. And we have 4 beats. Here's Do. So they hear my voice and my pacing. The pacing that we do in class, the same exercises, and that will be the same as it is on the test as well. And I think that has been very helpful to students because they need that consistency, and before they were not having the consistency of the practice at home. Either they weren't doing it because they couldn't get back to the building to practice, or they didn't have a keyboard at home, and now they have everything they need right here. They have the Dropbox, they have the keyboard, they have me giving them the exercise exactly as we would do in class. And so having all 3 of those things really lends itself to consistency and allows them to work through the material better on their own.
It's a different world in which we live. It's changing very rapidly. I mean, the fact that we can get infinite amounts of information at our fingertips with a very small device in a matter of seconds changes the whole environment. And so at Boise State, we need to help teachers kind of make that transition and make that move.
We're looking at a wider spread implementation sometime in the future, probably fall of 2012.